It took me almost 3 years, but I finally did it. I read the book. And although I'm pretty sure everyone and their mother have shared their thoughts about the Iron Widow and the stories Ziranje Zhao has shared, I have thoughts. I have opinions. I have honesty. And by the gods, you all would hear them. Welcome to my Iron Widow review. But before I dive into the review, I would like to say some things. One, there will be spoilers. So if you don't want to be spoiled for this book, this might not be the video for you.
Exit stage left.
Not like I'm offended, just take a minute to subscribe if you aren't already subscribed and like this video preemptively for posterity's sake. Second, this review is my opinion because although I did enjoy reading this book, I had quite a number of thoughts and questions when I was done. So even if you don't agree with what I have to say, that's fine. It's a big world, it's a book. We're all meant to have opinions when we're done reading books. And there's no rule mandating that we feel the exact same way about a book we've both read. You can have your thoughts, let me have mine. And if you want to argue your points in the comments, please feel free to do so. I'll try my best to respond. If you go out of your way to be unpleasant, however, I will meet you in hell.
Welcome to hell, motherfucker!
With that out of the way, I'll start by giving a quick overview of the premise of the book. Iron Widow by Ziranje Zhao is a futuristic reinterpretation of the legend of Wu Zetian's, China's first and only female emperor, set within the context of a feudal China, aptly called Waxia, which historically was said to refer to the confederation of tribes who lived along the Yellow River, whose ancestors are today known to have become the Han ethnic group in China. So from the name given to this fictional country, I was already sad because clearly Ziranje Zhao was here to give us some history lessons set within a futuristic world, and your girl was ready. Add the fact that the story followed Wu Zetian, whose elder sister was killed by a co-pilot whilst they were piloting the nine-tailed chrysalis, giant machines that can transform into supernatural beings in Chinese folklore and mythology, in their fight against the Unduns, who are an alien race that seek to wipe out humanity. Zetian, though, is only concerned about getting vengeance for her sister's murder, and when she is successful in that, she is paired with another pilot, the dreaded Li Shimin, and together the Iron Widow and the Iron Demon must prove their enemies wrong whilst trying to stay alive and walk through the animosity that exists between them, although the animosity is more on the part of Zetian. Now, I'm sure everyone's probably heard a variation of this, but Iron Widow is basically what you get when Pacific Rim meets Neon Genesis Evangelion. I know, even Ziran themselves mentioned that their story is Yu-Gi-Oh!, but I still see Neon Genesis Evangelion in the Sims of the story. It sometimes pops up to greet me like an old friend. Gods, I need to rewatch that anime. It's been forever. And Code Geass too, whilst I'm at it. So yeah, back to what I was saying. Iron Widow is Pacific Rim meets Neon Genesis Evangelion meets Handmaid's Tale meets a sprinkle of the Hunger Games, because the revolution would be televised. Set within historical China with polyamorous relationships, queer representations, feminist themes, and a whooping dose of female rage. And I'm sure from just the summary alone, you all can most likely tell that there are elements in this story that I love, absolutely adore. Firstly, it's a YA reimagining of the story of China's only female emperor, and with how much I love Wu Zhao, also known as Wu Zetian, this book got a star just for being based off of her.
Spit in my mouth.
What can I say? I'm a pretty simple girl in certain interests. You mentioned Wu Zetian and I'm there. It's why I watch C-dramas that feature her story, same with movies and books as well. The story had me at Wu Zetian, to be quite honest.
Just took it to my veins!
Next, the polyamorous relationships. I am and will forever be team no love triangles. I hate them. I can't stand them. I'm not someone that remembers her dreams often, but I'm pretty sure that if I do, I would have nightmares where I'm the protagonist trapped in a love triangle with a voice screaming, "Bloody pick one!" And I respond with, "Fuck you and your family, bitch!" Like gods, please, I need us to drop having love triangles in YA novels. They serve no purpose, often because it's never truly balanced in any way. Anytime there's even a smidgen of a love triangle, you can tell that only one partner has a chance and the other is just there to drive readers to the wall. Because please, who is buying that the second person is even a possible threat?
Like, come on.
There is never any real competition, just bullshit and a waste of my time. So yeah, this book doesn't have a love triangle. Instead, we have a triad and maybe possibly a quad. If you're confused as to how that's possible or what the hell I'm talking about, I will go into details later on when we reach the more spoiler-filled part of this video.
I'll be back, I promise.
Then there's the fast pace of the story. Did I think it sometimes went too fast? Yeah. The story was like we just went plop. Wu Zetian is now at the wall. Plop. Zetian is now in the chrysalis. Plop. Zetian is at the capital. Plop. Zetian is heading to the Kunlun Mountains. We just went plopping all over the place.
Sit your ass down.
But I was still strapped in for a ride. And honestly, I think it fits the protagonist of the story. Wu Zetian isn't the character that one would ordinarily say takes the time to think things through and calm down. She moves fast, strikes faster, and the story kept to that beat. It was like it was an extension of the chaotic energies of its protagonist, and I really do think it fits it wonderfully. As much as I would have loved if we had gotten the perspective of others, and in fact, I do mention that later in the video, I still think that the fast pace of this book best fits Wu Zetian. Anyone else would have gotten it wrong. Did I just reference More Than Solace? Yes, I did. I'm currently replaying Mass Effect for the opt-in time and dealing with the pain. Join me. But back to Iron Widow. Something else I loved about the book, the representation. Wu Zetian has mobility issues because her foot was bound and therefore she can't walk as quickly or easily as other women with unbound feet. If you're watching this and have no concept or understanding of foot binding was a Chinese custom where the feet of young girls were broken and then tightly bound to change their shape and size to fit into the beauty standards of the time, where small lotus feet were the epitome of beauty, and by late imperial China were a status symbol and the mark of feminine beauty. It was a painful practice that affected the mobility of women and girls who had to undergo it, and having Wu Zetian painfully navigate this book with her bound feet and not having that hold back her story was so bloody brilliant. And by the time we get to the capital and we see her wheeling her wheelchair about, I was in love. And of course, there's the queer representation. Wu Zetian admits in her thoughts that she's bi. She notes that Xinyi is attracted to men and women, and so is the Shimin as well. So not only is our triad in a relationship with each other, we also get confirmation that they aren't limited in their desires to one particular gender. Then there's the fact that Wu Zetian is not a very likable character. I know, you're probably wondering if I've lost my damn mind, because why would Zetian, being an unlikable character, be something I love in this book? It's just that I love me unlikable women, the ones that are loud and brash and would take a hacksaw to destroy a system that would need a more delicate touch. Because sometimes you just want to say, fuck a delicate touch. I want to go to town and destroy the system with a sledgehammer in hand, covered in dust and soot and the blood of my enemies, and cackling as I set everything ablaze.
This was delicious.
I'm not going to deceive myself into even attempting to convince you that Wu Zetian is a heroine. She isn't. Not in this book, not in real life. Neither Wu Zetians are pious, good, kind, and sweet women that pop in your head when you think of heroes who are there to save the day. If that's what I wanted, I wouldn't have picked this book. I wouldn't have fallen in love with a historical Wu Zetian either. What I want is a woman who is true to herself, and in this case, who is very self-serving. And I got all of that and more. And finally, I love the rage. Female rage gets me every single time. If you follow me on Twitter, I would never call that platform by that alphabet that Smell-On musty ass shithead calls it. My profile says it loud and bold in your face. I like my women angry. Angry women who want to bring shit crashing down, delicious. Angry women who want to burn the world to hell, delicious. Angry women who are the very definition of
I don't want peace. I want problems, always.
Delicious. Angry women who scream their rage until the heavens bleed. Feed that shit directly into my veins. And that was what Ziran Jejal gave us with Wu Zetian in Iron Widow. And for that, I would always be grateful. However,
Strap in.
with all the things I love about this story, there are still quite a ton of things I had issues with. And we'll start with the biggest elephant in the room, the very obvious lack of world building. Now, we found out why much later in the story, and I get it. Whilst I was reading this book with members of my Patreon, I did mention and ask if maybe the withholding of this information was done on purpose to serve a greater plot. Like maybe the reason why it seems like the people of Waxia don't have any clear roots and we are missing a large chunk of their history, and the reasons for why their society operates the way it does is because of a great secret the writer was keeping from us.
Spoiler alert, yes.
However, I think the withholding of that crucial information till like the very last page of the book didn't help the story Ziran Jejal was telling. What if I didn't read to the end? What then? I know that this book is ultimately a duology, but the way the story played out, especially at the end, made it seem like Iron Widow was like a prologue to Heavenly Tyrant, which isn't bad when you look at it, but at the same time, unless Heavenly Tyrant is a 2,000-page behemoth, we are still going to have unanswered questions at the end of the series. But most importantly, even if the world building wasn't focused on the history of things, it can be infused subtly into the story. World building helps us connect deeper with the characters because then we get an idea of the world they are in, that they've grown up in, that they are thriving or struggling to exist in. It means that we understand the stakes they are facing much better because we have an idea of how it plays out against the larger world. World building means that characters who ask questions and try to make sense of the world are people we connect with because they are asking the questions that the audience is. Iron Widow is the intersection we get when a feudal system meets the future, and we never really get the answer as to why at the end of the book. But before we get there, we never see any of the characters in this book ask the why, which then leaves us as readers scratching our heads wondering why nobody in the books is smart enough to want to know more. And that just sets us off even more. So now I'm wondering, do the people on Waxia, do they know how planets work? Are they aware that even if there's a land boundary, unless the planet is practically microscopic, it should be much bigger than just them? The border tribes, the nomads, and the Unduns. Like, is no one curious if they are the only members of humanity left on the planet? Are there no other countries, neighboring cultures? Did they never try to find out if other people came to join them?
By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
Even if it's just a throwaway line from Uzetia about how Uzea tried to connect to others and realized that no one responded but the Unduns, and so they concluded that everyone else was dead or not on the planet, I would have been happy. I would have been like, okay, that makes a bit of sense. I wish we had more context and information, but at least we got some. But in this book, we got nothing. No further information of the geography of the planet, of the seasons, or even their customs. We learned that Zetian was taught how to ride Bagao Yiji, but at the same time, I'm curious. How easy or hard is it to learn to write?
Walk me through it, Cadet.
Is there some bit of privilege walked into who can read and write? Is writing something that can only be afforded by the elites? If the story's inspiration is historical China where not everyone could read or write, especially beautiful calligraphy, which is Yizi's point of interest in Li Shimin from the start, then why is that never a point of contention with the other pilots about Shimin? Like, we know from the story that pilots have short lifespans. They aren't expected to live beyond 25 years old, after which they are sacrificed, which makes me think that the children from noble households are most likely not made pilots, because no noble household or family that is particularly wealthy would sacrifice their children to power and then die in the chrysalis. The rich and noble instead seem to live in the capital, safe in that knowledge and being entertained by the young people who are dying for them. And before you say we don't have confirmation of that, that's my exact point. We don't know.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Because the system and structure that governs Wazia and how it works isn't explained to us in the story, which, say it with me, inadequate world building. So if we can infer from the books that noble sons aren't pilots, it means that if you aren't noble born, your options are pretty limited. You can either live in poverty or be born with enough spirit pressure to become a pilot, or you can become a strategist. But the strategists seem to be civil servants, and to join the civil service historically in China, you would have had to sit for the imperial examinations, pass them well enough to find your way in, which means that Li Shimin being able to read and write would be a big fucking deal, especially among the other pilots. I would have expected that the tension of that, of him being half Han with the looks that made it obvious that he isn't full Han, and him being a kinslayer plus his ability to read and write, should have, if anything, pissed off some of the other pilots. It should be a big deal for them and be one more reason for them to hate him. But it's never brought up. Like, the only person that makes a big deal of it is Yuzi. So I'm confused. Is it a big deal or not that Li Shimin can write?
I've got so many questions, Andinio.
Can everybody write and read, and it's just women and those of the border tribes like the Rongdi that cannot or are not allowed to read or write? I mean, why tell us about Zetian being taught to read and write by Ji, a skill she otherwise shouldn't have had if it would never be brought up or used? Unless it's Chekhov's gun and we are not going to hear bang until sometime in book 2, which again doesn't make any sense. Having the way this world works made clearer would have helped with enjoying the story so much more. Like, what is the geography like? I know that Zetian's family lives on the borders of Waxia, but are they on the side of the border that is closer to where the Unduns come from, or are they far away so that if the Unduns attempt to take the city, the capital city would be destroyed first before the destruction hits them? But that doesn't make any sense, because if there's anything we know about rich people, they would always put as many bodies between them and death so they can have enough time to run away and leave the rest of us to rot.
You know I'm right.
So once again, where do they live? Where do the tribes that live on the outskirts come from? Are they even further distant from the border towns? What differentiates them therefore from the nomads that we are introduced to much later in the story, when conveniently, I might add, we needed them to remind us of the existence of Kinseng and point us to where he's been living in a state of stasis. But back to my questions. Did some of the Rongdi break away from the nomads? How do the nomads survive alongside the Unduns? Did the nomads exist before Kinzeng went down with flowerpox, or are they members of the citizenry who went in search of him to hopefully save him and have over the years been separate from the rest of the Hans? Why is no one else in this world asking questions?
Why?
And even if it is that we are given context after certain things have happened so we can have some question answered, I would have been all right with that. But things are kept purposefully nebulous for plot reasons. Because, like, I don't even think it was ever made clear to us how Wuzetian's spirit energy rose from 800 to over 10,000 and staying at that level after she started piloting with Shimin. Is it that the constant piloting, which kept pushing her spirit pressure up, is why they moved her baseline? Because if you're about to say that her baseline is 800 and she only gets over 10,000 when she's piloting with Li Shimin, I will point out to the scene where she senses the other female pilot spirit pressure and how high it goes, and they in turn point out her own high spirit energy as well. Like, why is no one asking any questions? What is happening?
Why?
And then there's the bit with the strategist talking about how imprecise the measuring of women's spirit pressure is. And I'm just confused as to why Wu Zetian never asks or follows up on that, because she doesn't question this until the plot asks her to, and they're trying to unravel and understand the revelations that An Lushan gives them. Having her first person narrator, whose entire story arc is about questioning the patriarchal system that killed her big sister, not question things until the plot needs her to, had me pulling at my hair. Like, why? Someone please tell me why. Also, although this story does center female rage and has some feminist themes, the feminism was a bit ham-fisted for me, because please tell me why a feminist story that is similarly feminist has our female lead character similarly not being able to hold space or extend any grace to the other women in the story who have also been dealt a shitty hand by the same patriarchal system that is fucking them all collectively over. And I know that Wu Zetian is not the warm type. She's not the fuzzy type. And she admits that. And I like that about her. It's why the triad of her and Shimin and Yizi work. Yizi is the emotional beating heart of their relationship. Shimin is all the scars and pain, and Wuzetian is the rage. So yeah, I'm okay with her not being the warm and fuzzy type. But to tell a feminist story where our lead character doesn't have any female friends just rubs me the wrong way. Whether it's her mother who is dealing with her physically abusive father, or her grandmother who also had to deal with her physically abusive grandfather and had been so cowed by the system that she wreaks damage and havoc and pain on Wuzetian in turn, or the other concubine that yanks out her hairpin, or Dugu Kelo who is upset at Wuzetian because her own husband is intrigued by her, or Ma Yin who, spoiler alert, is a backstabbing bitch in the story. Wuzetian is unable to connect with any of the other women in the story, and that is just weird. The only women she remotely looks at with respect and is interested in learning from is the nomad, who we receive for plot reasons and is gone, and now we have to wonder if we would see her again in book 2, or if we would once again fit the stereotype of women just can't support each other that we are currently dealing with in this book. Because right now we have the patriarchy princesses in Wuzetian's mother and grandmother. There's the femme fatale that is Wuzetian, the backstabbing bitch that is Ma Yin, the jealous woman that is Dugu Kielo, and the empty haired that is the first concubine that Wuzetian meets and who grabs her hairpin. Oh, and then there's the martyrs of Wende and Zetian's big sister, whose name we don't even know, unless we were told at some point in the story. And if anyone remembers, please drop it in the comments. And the possible mentor mother figure that we might get with the nomad woman. Like, it's just great. I sincerely hope that in book 2 we get Wuzetian's relationship with other women fleshed out. I just need her to have one female friend, even if it's just one. Please, gods.
Primary.
Something else I hope we get more of, the relationship between Wuzetian, Gao Yiji, and Li Shimin. I love me a triad, and I love how their relationship is balanced. I love how Ziren Zhao subverted their relationship. I love how, although Wuzetian is the only woman in their triad, it doesn't fall automatically to her to be the heart that holds them together. She isn't the one bringing the warmth. That is Yizi. And yes, spoiler alert, I know that Li Shimin is being held in some sort of suspended midway point between life and death by the Heavenly Council, who are using that to blackmail Zetian, which honestly is the most stupid thing, because I repeat, my girl lives for wrecking shit and bringing a sledgehammer to solve her problems. The minute she figures out how to free him, it's over for them hoes. But back to the story. I know that Shimen is currently out of the picture, and I hope we get him back soon and early enough, because I don't think the Triad's relationship has blossomed or bloomed fully yet. I need them to have some more happy moments for their relationship to grow. And with the way we got introduced to Kinzeng and just how fucking funny his ass is. Yes, I love me a over 200-year-old emperor who has been asleep all this while and has a spirit pressure that could put other pilots to shame, can control all the elements, is fucking powerful as fuck, is confused about inflation rates, and is intrigued by the young girl who wants to rule the world. I see a quad. I see their relationship becoming just that, with Wuzetian being followed by her 3 husbands, Li Shimi, Gao Yizi, and Kinzeng. It would add the sass and the heart-stopping power that just makes them an unshakable and unbreakable force. I mean, I can't be the only person who is like, why stop at 3 when they can be 4?
You see it too, don't you?
If you agree, please let me know in the comments. But yeah, I don't think we got their relationship fleshed out properly in Iron Widow, so my hope is that we get it come Heavenly Tyrant. I also hope that we get to spend more time in the pilot's mind palaces, but especially in Wuzetian, because we see what the men's look like, but we have no idea what the women's do. Like, what do the men see when the women are navigating their mind palace? Once again, this is a world building issue, because we should know this. A throwaway line from Li Shimin would solve this for us, but alas. Anyway, I would love to learn what is in Wuzetian's mind palace. I will bet it will be something with bludgeoning force. Also, maybe we'll be able to meet her sister that way and get to know more about this person whose death was the inciting incident that set off this entire story. And finally, the coincidences. There are too many damn coincidences in the story that it stripped it of believability. For example, how convenient that Wuzi Etienne met a nomad who wasn't killed in the tussle between the Chrysalises and the Undans and was alive to direct Zetien to Kizek's Yellow Dragon nest resting spot. And all of this happened in less than a page at the end of the story. How convenient. But you know what? Even with all my complaints, I did have a blast reading this, and I'm eagerly looking forward to Heavenly Tyrant and the story that Ziranje Zhao would be giving us. That is, if their publishers get their heads out of the ass of the settler colonist state that is Israel and stop punishing them for rightfully speaking out against the genocide of the Palestinian people. I will continue to and always support them and their work. Having writers who stand on the side of truth and our shared collective humanity is always going to be the right way to go. And as a community, we too should stand by them. So yeah, that is my honest and long as fuck review of Iron Widow. If you stayed this long, thank you so much for giving so much of your precious time and watching this all the way to the end. And if I can crave your indulgence to take an extra couple of seconds to like this video, it will be much appreciated. If you can leave a comment or share this video, please do. It helps support my channel. Or if you can afford it, consider supporting me on Patreon. The link to my Patreon is in the description bar. I make new book-related videos on Fridays at 5 p.m. EST, so do come around if you're interested. And until then, remember, obsessing over the things you love, perfectly valid coping mechanism.